The SS had departed. They left their great coats, put on civilian clothing. I stood in the doorway with that fact. I knew I was free, but somehow the reality of it, you know, I prayed for it for 6 years, in every waking hour. And I couldn't absorb the wonder of perhaps freedom until a crushing, almost overwhelming joy by seeing a strange car coming down a hill. No longer green, the white star of the American army on its hood, and 2 men in unfamiliar uniforms sat in it. I stood in the doorway, and one of them, we gathered them to be Americans, jumped out and he came toward me. Or perhaps I should say that just before that, I asked Liesl where Susie was, and she said she went outside to get some water and she hadn't come back. There was a pump outside. And I went out and I found Susie, and she was lying near the pump, and I thought that she had fainted. And I shook her and I said, Susie, the war is over. And she didn't respond, and I realized that she was dead. And that I couldn't even pay my debt of the quart of strawberries and cream that we made 3 years before. I lost the bet. But I didn't tell Liesl that I found her. I couldn't tell her. And then, as I mentioned, one of those men that sat in that jeep came toward me. And I was looking at him with incredible awe and disbelief, but I was looking at someone who fought for us. Of course, I was terribly frightened what his reaction would be if I tell him we are Jewish, but I felt I had to tell him. So I looked at him and I said, we are Jewish, you know. He didn't answer me, which seemed to me eternity. And then he said, so am I. This was the greatest moment of my life. Then he asked an incredible question. He asked if he could see the other ladies. Obviously a form of address we hadn't known and heard. And I told him that most of the girls were inside. They were too ill to walk. He asked me to come with him. I didn't know what he meant. He held the door open for me and let me precede him, and restored me to humanity again. And he has been holding the door open for me now for 50 years, my husband.
His name?
Gerda Klein.